we're all practicing meditation because on some level we want to be happy. We want to be more at ease in our lives. We want to be more confident, have more clarity, more wisdom, more understanding, and more compassion, self-compassion, compassion for others. And we don't want to be so restless or agitated or dissatisfied with our life more and more. And what is it that keeps creating this dissatisfaction, both externally but also internally? This restlessness, this agitation in the mind. When we are agitated, when the mind is agitated, peace seems very far away. So when we are practicing the mindfulness of the mind foundation, the mindfulness of chitta, we are directly examining the cause for agitation. And we keep relaxing that cause for agitation. And what happens when we relax the cause for agitation is agitation also starts to relax. And when the mind is not agitated, the mind is open, spacious, peaceful. So Vipassana meditation is working in a way where we're not trying to create peace. That's why I always say this meditation is not about peacefulness. It's not about trying to create some state. It's about noticing what prevents peacefulness from arising, what prevents stability, confidence, clarity from arising. And that is this cycle of the three poisons, the so-called three poisons, the cycle of craving, aversion, and ignorance that we get stuck in. Sometimes more, sometimes less, but we all get stuck in this vicious cycle of craving, aversion, and ignorance, or delusion. So it's basically like we want something and we work very hard to get to that something. When we get there, our want, which is a habit of mind, is still there. So some other object takes the place of the old object. It's kind of like, oh, I'm really craving to go to this restaurant. And then I go to the restaurant and then I start looking at the menu and I'm really craving to eat the lamb chops. And then the lamb chops arrive and I'm really craving to order something else. And then I order another thing, the steak. And I start eating the steak. But as I'm starting to eat the steak, I starting to crave and be curious about what is for dessert. And I start craving dessert. And then I start feeling really full and the dessert arrives. And I start craving to be at home and to go to cuddle up on the couch and be comfortable. And then I finish my dessert and we go back home. And then by the time I arrive home, I want to cuddle on the couch, and so on and so forth. So it's a cycle of craving or aversion. Craving and aversion are really two sides of the same coin. Sometimes the Buddha distinguishes them. Okay, there is greed, there's hatred, there's lust, and there's anger. Sometimes he just puts it together. There's one root cause, which is craving, which is tanaha, clinging. When there's aversion towards something, we're also craving for non-existence of that thing. I have a pain, I don't want that to be there, I have aversion towards it, hatred towards this pain, I crave for non-existence of the pain, or craving for the existence of something. And this craving is very related to ignorance. So ignorance is the belief that things will be better, things will be different if I do this, if I do that. And it's also the absence of mindfulness, the absence of clear seeing of what's happening in my experience. Because these two things coupled, not being present with experience, believing my thoughts about what I need, feeds the craving, which feeds further this ignorance. And we find ourselves in the cycle when we meditate. When we sit to meditate and there's a distracted mind is thinking about X, Y, Z, and somehow this is there every single time when we sit, and of course our life changes and we get what we want sometimes we don't get what we want, but this habit of craving is still there, and we keep running, or maybe jogging, or maybe walking, but we keep running after something. So what the Buddha said is, start to pay attention and release this craving in the mind. So start to notice when craving arises, when the wrong attitude arises. Um, so it can be related to how we practice meditation, when we very fixated, very focused, very striving, practicing with an end goal in mind. There's craving in the mind. This is not practicing without craving. Or we are sitting and we don't want to sit. We want to be somewhere else. This is craving. We want to do our other. We want to move. We want to start work. This is craving. Or we are bored. We're doing walking meditation and we're bored and we really would just rather sit. This is craving coming up. And our job is just to observe when this craving arises, how it arises, and to abandon it every time it arises. So there's like a stock, a habit of craving, and it's just this habit of clenching, of holding on to. Every time we relax this habit, it starts to release more and more, and builds momentum. Mindfulness builds momentum. So there's another teacher, Sayadaw U Tejaniya. He's very much talking about the right attitude in practicing, and you cannot create the right attitude towards your experience. You can only notice when you have the wrong attitude. The wrong attitude being one of craving, one of clinging, one of wanting something else that's not here, one of not being with experience as it is, and abandon it. So how to abandon it is to notice it, to release it, come back to the body-mind, to relax any tension in the body-mind, any clenching, any holding in the mind, in the body, as a sensation or as a feeling of the mind going out to grasp something. And smiling, and then we have our focus object, our place to rest, because otherwise the mind goes very quickly. So our breath or our walking, and keeping collected around this meditation object. And things come, distractions come, hindrances come, also called defilements come, because they are very sneaky defilements, sneaky forms of craving, and they get more and more subtle. So in the beginning there's very obvious forms of discomfort in the meditation, like there's a lot of pain, or maybe there's a lot of restlessness or worry, and it's impossible to sit. As you get more experience, it becomes more easy, but then the craving becomes more subtle. There's more devious ways the mind tries to trick you. Oh, maybe we should go back to that other thing we know, or start thinking or brainstorming about this thing we're inspired about. It doesn't feel like direct suffering, but there's this craving in it, this habit of craving. And this is what we're trying to release. And then we start to create a new cycle. It's the cycle of liberation, the cycle of being freed from these attachments, the cycle of being free of craving. Is with mindfulness, with awareness of the movement of mind and what's happening in the body and mind, and the aspect of collectedness of mind. So when there's mindfulness, there can also be this collectedness, this restfulness, this ease. The mind is more stable with what's happening, more stable in the present moment, more and more, less monkey mind, restlessness. And there's also wisdom which gets created. So wisdom is the right understanding of experience as it's happening. It's not, wisdom in Vipassana doesn't mean like you are a wise person in the normal sense of, okay, I know how to be good with relationships and have good advice for people in a relative sense. Of course that happens too, because you understand yourself better. But wisdom in the Vipassana sense is insight, and understanding into the true nature of body and mind. So as wisdom gets more created, there's more and more this cycle of liberation which happens, more and more mindfulness, more and more collectedness. When you start to go, you notice much quicker, and you can come back to this collectedness. Because guess what? When you remove craving, what is left is space, is peace. Peacefulness is the absence of craving. It's not another state we need to create. It's just the absence of agitation and restlessness. When you're not agitated, you are peaceful. And this is how we start creating more long-term peace in Vipassana meditation. We start to remove the cause of craving, and we start to become more happy, more easy. Not because of conditions, but because our mind. And our mind is really the most important project we have as humans. The only thing we take all the way from our birth to our death is our mind and the quality of our mind in every moment. And this makes up our whole life, the quality of our mind. We can have many possessions and even relationships. They come and go. Some stay for a while, some come quickly, some go quickly. But our quality of our mind really dictates our well-being in this world, all the way until the time of death. And whether you will have a good death or a bad death will also be dictated by the quality of your mind at death. If you've spent your whole life craving and aversion, when you die, your mind will be full of craving and aversion, full of fear of dying, full of, oh, I didn't do so many things, I need to do more things, I don't want to die. You will die like this, because this is the habit that you've had for so many years. So we have this wonderful opportunity to train and to be, and the good thing is that this, if we are practicing correctly, and this is a hint about how to practice, this path is good in the beginning, in the middle, and then the end. So every moment we have the right mindfulness, every moment we have the clear awareness, the relief starts already happening, because we are free from craving for a few moments at least, more and more. Good luck with the practice.